Well, I just used our new 22-liter Rim2Rim pack on yet another canyon adventure, and as usual, it was everything I could have hoped for. Hey guys, it's Brian here. I remember cruising down South Kaibab and being grateful over and over again for the front pockets. I was able to take out my ibuprofen, electrolytes, snacks, my phone to take pictures, all of it without breaking stride because of those front pockets on the shoulder straps. Once you have them, there is just no going back. The insulated pocket kept my water and my Snickers bar cold, and I had plenty of storage as well for my layers and my video and audio equipment even. So if you are in the market for a new pack, why not grab one made specifically for the Grand Canyon and the toughest day hikes on Earth? One size fits most. It's made for men and women and has 4 adjustment points for the perfect fit. The Rim2Rim pack is now available in limited quantities. Find out more and grab yours at brightangeloutfitters.com. At Bright Angel Outfitters, we are committed to doing anything we can to help you have your best hike in the Grand Canyon and beyond. That's at brightangeloutfitters.com. Now, on to the show. Hey there, fellow Canyon crazies. My name is Brian Special, and this is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. All right, we met Mary Banik, the marvelous Miss Mary, in a previous episode where we went in depth into her story that now includes hiking the Grand Canyon 181 times. Amazing. Mary's 73. She lives in Tucson. And this past Friday marked her 4th consecutive week of making the 6-hour drive from Tucson for a canyon hike. Yeah, you might just call her obsessed. Well, this time I was lucky enough to tag along. We've been trying to make our schedules line up, and at the last minute, they did this time. We were planning what I'm now calling a Mary Loop, 17-ish miles made up of just over 6 miles down South Kaibab to Black Bridge, then 2.1 miles back up South Kaibab to the tip-off, then 4.5 miles across Tonto to Havasupai Gardens, and then another 4.5 up Bright Angel to the finish back on the South Rim. So a tad longer than a traditional rim to river, but with the same elevation loss and then gain. When we finished, after a Coke and some chips from the gift shop, and before she headed back down the hill to Tucson and me to Phoenix, we sat down for a wide-ranging canyon conversation on everything she's learned on those almost 200 hikes, from what to eat and drink, what to wear, what kind of pills she takes, which direction she prefers on Rim2Rim, mistakes she's seen, hiking in heat, trekking poles, you name it. It's valuable, hard-earned information. And here now is that conversation as we take the show on the road on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. We are on location this time. You know where we are right now? We are sitting in the lodge, the Bright Angel Lodge. We are sitting in the lobby of the Bright Angel Lodge, and I am sitting here with my good friend, Mary Banik, who just completed her 181st hike below the rim at the Grand Canyon. So, Mary, thank you for sticking around and talking to us today.
It was a blast.
It was so much fun. So we're going to talk about all kinds of things today. I thought it would be a good chance for you and I to just sit down. You have so much experience in the canyon, and Rim2Rim season, you know, by the time this episode airs, by the time it's released, Rim2Rim season will be in full swing. It starts on May 15th, runs through October 15th. So as of right now, it's about 5 days away. But again, by the time this episode is out, Rim2Rim season will be in full swing. But man, we had quite a day today, didn't we?
We did.
Before we get to the Rim2Rim stuff, let's just talk a little bit about what we did. So Mary and I have been trying to get together for a hike for quite a while now. I knew that she was, you know, building up 175, 180. Now she's at 181 today. So it just kind of worked out this week that we made it happen.
We did.
It's the middle of May, and Mary was coming up here last night, and you came up here and kind of camped the night before.
I did, yes. I camped the night before at the National Forest Service Road right before the South Rim entrance station.
All right, just get in the back of your truck and pull into a sleeping bag.
Get in the back of the truck, and I have a little camper shell, and I have a zero bag, and it was pretty chilly last night.
Yeah.
So I was really happy for the warmth.
Kind of unseasonably cold up here, which was nice for today.
It was nice
because
for
I came
today.
up here. I came up last night from Phoenix. I got up here at about 7 or 8 o'clock, and I stayed in Valley, which is just about a half an hour away from the South Rim. And you were going to start, I think you got on the trail at what time this morning?
About 3:20.
3:20. Well, I woke up at after that, so I knew that I was going to get on the trail at about 4:30-ish. I ended up getting on the trail at 4:38, so you were an hour and 20 minutes ahead of me. So I knew I was going to catch you at some point. We were going to go down South Kaibab, and finally we ran into each other at Black Bridge,
Right
just outside
there.
Black Bridge.
That was something.
We both went and touched terra firma on the other side, so that we say we made it across
We
the Black Bridge
did.
to the north side. And then this is what I kind of call the Mary Loop. We because I've never done it before. So the route was down South Kaibab, across the river, back across the river again on South Kaibab, and we climbed back up to the tip-off, another 2.1 miles back up South Kaibab. Then we went across Tonto for 4.5 miles, hooked up with Bright Angel, and came out on Bright Angel. It was awesome.
It was the most beautiful loop. The Burro Spring was running
on Tonto.
on Tonto, and I was kind of surprised that it was running so much. And the water was very clear, so must be a lot of melt off still percolating through.
Mary, 181 times the Great
tired.
Canyon. You're tired, yeah. Well, I am too. But 181 times, what is it that keeps you coming back time and time again? What's your why?
I don't know.
You're 73 years old and you're still doing this.
The challenge is just never ending. You know, my son challenged me to do it to my age, and then I did. And then he said, he didn't tell me to go any further, but I decided I would go for 100, then double my age. And, now the next point, I guess, would be 200. But, age is definitely slowing me down, but I'm just not quite ready to give it up yet.
No, why would you? Well, you got to get to 200 for sure.
Got to get to 200.
You're at 181, so you're 19 away. And this is like your fourth week in a row, isn't it?
It's my fourth week in a row, yeah.
And you're coming back next week to do Rim2Rim.
Next week, taking the shuttle. Taking the shuttle on Friday morning at 8 o'clock over to the North Rim, and basically getting out of the shuttle and starting the hike immediately back across, hoping to make Phantom Ranch well before sunset. And the predicted high that day at Phantom is about 88 degrees, so that's not too bad.
Not too bad for this time of year.
No, not at all.
It could be worse.
And then come out dark up South Kaibab, and
we kind of got lucky today.
We did.
Because I was giving you a lot of grief because I was trying to get you to do the hike that I like to do, which is start in the afternoon and finish in the dark when the weather turns warmer. But today, it was sunny, but it was unseasonably cool and it was windy, so you had a nice breeze going the whole time too. So what I'm trying to say, Mary, is you got lucky because I was going to give you so much grief that I've got this shade tracker thing and everything, and I always preach about hiking in the shade. But no, here we are in direct sunlight. But you got lucky because the weather was nice.
Yeah, because I checked 10 days out and I checked twice a day.
Well, how often does that hold? Yes. How often does that 10-day forecast hold?
Well, it went from 78 to 80 to 82, and then finally back to 78. And then the clouds were due to come in around 10 o'clock, and they did. They arrived, and I even felt a little sprinkle right near the top. I don't know if you did notice that.
I didn't notice that, but I noticed that it was a gorgeous day. We had a little cloud cover, breezy, cool. It was fantastic. So what I'm trying to say is you got away with it.
I did.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's talk a little. Let's talk a little Rim2Rim because again, Rim2Rim season is right around the corner. It's the iconic bucket list hike that so many people are getting ready for, and it's a big reason to come to the canyon, of course. So, what is your preferred route? Because south to north, north to south, I can see the pros and cons in each. Which way do you like going the most?
Well, I actually really like south to north. It's a different perspective on the canyon when you're going south to north, but a lot of it just happens to be what logistically is available at the time.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to find somebody that was willing to drive you or exchange keys, or you're kind of relegated to the shuttle. So next weekend it'll be north to south, and I'll be coming out at 11 o'clock at night because there's just no other recourse.
What about climbing North Kaibab? Because a lot of folks will say that climbing North Kaibab is so much harder. So why would you want to go south to north? North to south would be the better route in that case.
I would say it is a little more difficult, but I like that more, just because it's a completely different area. It's a completely different perspective going to the north. I absolutely love it. Coming out on that North Rim, you're in a completely different wilderness world rather than the South Rim with thousands and thousands of people, basically, on the trail. The last 3 miles up Bright Angel, it's just person after person after person. But North Rim, you basically have the canyon to yourself.
And here's a perspective on it too, just for difficulty's sake, because again, you do hear a lot of times that folks will say that it's harder going up the North Rim. Well, North Kaibab is roughly 1,000 feet higher in elevation, so you have more elevation to gain. However, when you get to the river and you start to go up North Kaibab, it feels like it's flat for the first 2,000 feet until you get to Manzanita, because it's 8.5 miles to get from Phantom Ranch to Manzanita, and the climb really doesn't start until you get to Manzanita.
Right.
And by the time you get to Manzanita, you only have 5.5 miles and about 3,000 feet worth of elevation to go. So I feel like the steepness doesn't really start until Manzanita, because you gain those first 2,000 feet, and it feels relatively flat from Phantom to Manzanita.
Yeah, and even from Manzanita to Roaring Springs, I don't think it's too bad, because there's not a lot of huge steps. It's more ramping, and I never felt that section was that difficult at all, from Manzanita to Roaring Springs Junction.
Yeah, it seems like on North Kaibab, the significant part of the climb really starts after Redwall Bridge.
Yes, Redwall Bridge.
Up the Supai Tunnel, and then the switchbacks to the top. But for some reason, North Kaibab never feels as steep to me as South Kaibab or Bright Angel when you're ascending.
I have to say that Bright Angel is the hardest for me. That's my least favorite trail all around, even coming down and going up.
But you hear so often, again, that South Kaibab, stay away from South Kaibab because it's so steep. But I agree with you. Bright Angel from 3 Mile Rest House to the top is as hard as anything on South Kaibab.
It's brutal. And South Kaibab is very, very consistent. There's no surprises. You basically step up the entire way. So basically from the get-go, you're doing the exact same stepping. From the bottom to the top, and I just find that fine. I don't find that a huge challenge. But Bright Angel, different story.
Yeah.
And Kaibab is a little bit easier too, because the cross pieces.
Now we're saying Kaibab's easier than Bright Angel?
Well, visually it's easier for me
Maybe.
Because there's not so many angled steps. Bright Angel coming down is really hard for me to manage with the uneven steps at angles. Whereas Kaibab, it's pretty much straight cross pieces the whole way up, the whole way down.
Okay, so your preference is south to north, but again, there are pros and cons to everything. I tend to agree with you. I like going up North Kaibab, and I like finishing in that. You said that wilderness.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
Oh man, you got the pine trees up there. It's just north. The North Rim is just another world.
It is a different world.
It's got its own vibe. It
does.
It's like it's set back in time.
It's like the canyon is yours on the North Rim.
Yeah, it's less crowded.
There's
it's
only
just
the
more
hardcore
isolated.
people are on the North Rim.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they really are. It's an experience, but. Okay, but let's say you're going north to south. What do you think about going north to south?
Well, I've done north to south, both up South Kaibab and Bright Angel, and I prefer South Kaibab every time. North to South Kaibab every single time.
But not in the summertime.
I don't go near South Kaibab in the summer unless it's an all-nighter, and that's being in the inner canyon only between the hours of midnight and sunrise, which is basically the time of maximum heat dissipation, because a lot of people think, the sun goes down, it's fine to hike, but the rocks and the trail and the dirt, it holds heat for hours after sunset, and you really don't dissipate sometimes until the middle of the night. So I've done it, early evening, and it's absolutely brutal. It feels like a microwave.
Let's talk about what you, in 181 times down and across the Grand Canyon, have figured out in terms of what to packing list. If you had 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 things, let's say, that you never forget to pack for a canyon trip that someone might not think about, what would they be?
Well, I've got a small container and it's got everything in the small container, and it's always in the exact same spot. It's got ibuprofen, aspirin, Tylenol, salt tablets, potassium tablets, and caffeine tablets. And then Jolly Ranchers is in a different location. Never, ever do I go anywhere without that combination. I always have at least 6 backup batteries and 2 light sources at all times.
You know, that's important. Light sources are so important, even if you think you're not going to need them. That's one of those things, just like a water filter. Having a headlamp is something that you should always have no matter what, because you just never know what could go wrong.
Yeah, and I've seen people lose their headlamps because they didn't have a backup, and they're using their phones coming out. I ran into a girl from Chicago that had that exact thing happen. Her battery ran out, and she was coming up South Kaibab, and it was 10 o'clock at night, and I see this little teeny light at Cedar Ridge, and it's like, what happened to you? And she said, I lost my headlamp. And so we walked out together, and she stayed in front of me, and I kind of, put the light so she could see where she was going, but she was in a pretty precarious position. If she would have lost that phone light, it was absolutely a pitch dark night with no moon at all. So yeah, she didn't have any recourse.
I had something like that happen last summer when I got to about 3 Mile Rest House, and it was one of those night hikes that I was doing, and it was pitch black, and I ran into a lady from, I think, Michigan, and she was on her way up, and I only saw her because I had a headlight. She didn't have any light whatsoever.
Oh my gosh.
None, zero. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like 10 o'clock at night. And she's like, well, I decided this afternoon to go all the way down to the river because I wanted to see the Colorado. So, she got sucked in, as we like to say,
right.
that you start going down, and it's easy going down, and suddenly you've gotten yourself down too far. You think you're going to be back in a few hours. She left at noon. This was like at 10 o'clock, and she was still at 3 Mile Rest House, and she had no light. So I was able to give her one of my spare headlamps, and she was able to use that the rest of the way out. But man, you can get sucked down into the canyon so easily. You got to be so careful and know really what your plan is.
A couple of years ago, I was doing an afternoon night hike South Kaibab, probably 4 years ago, and there was these 3 young people that were just blasting down the trail. They were giggling and laughing, and they looked young and fit. And I said, where do you guys plan to go? Oh, we're going to the river. And I said, do you have headlamps? Well, why do we need headlamps? I said, because there's no streetlights in the Grand Canyon. And they looked at me and their eyes got big. And I said, just go to Skeleton Point and turn around and go back. And they did. They paid attention. But it just amazes me that
it happens. People don't do their research. It's a national park. You think it's a walk in the park. It really isn't, and then you get yourself in trouble before you even know it. Okay, back to the packing stuff. We digress a little bit there.
Okay.
So you were talking about the basically your pharmacy. They had the caffeine pills, huh?
Yeah, I have.
Oh,
yes.
and by the way, before we get into that, let's just say we are not doctors.
No.
These are things that work for us. It works for Mary. It works for me. The stuff I'll talk about. Check with your physician before doing any of this, because there are pros and cons to any of this, but go ahead. Caffeine pills.
Caffeine pills. I find that if I take one and then use a Jolly Rancher along with it and just suck on it until it melts, it goes into the system very slowly and gently, and it's only a 40 milligrams, so it would take probably 3 of them to have actually a cup of coffee. And I find if I do that every 3 hours or so, the need for ibuprofen is less because caffeine is an anti-inflammatory. So that helps a lot.
Well, do you use it for the anti-inflammatory, or do you use it as a stimulant as well?
Both.
Yeah,
it gives you a little perk. But like I said, I'm not drinking down, a latte or something with tons. It's just a very small amount because I don't drink coffee anyways. So a little bit works for me. I think today I took 2 caffeine tablets, Jolly Rancher, twice, and it was perfect. It was enough.
And ibuprofen, again, check with your physician, but ibuprofen is probably the number one thing that I will not be without in the canyon, and you got to stay on top of it. I always find that taking 2, basically when you start, and then maybe every hour or 2 when you think about it, take more ibuprofen, a couple of capsules, really keeps my soreness down, it keeps the inflammation down, and makes for an overall better hike.
It certainly does. I ran into a doctor a few years ago, and some guy was asking me on the trail, well, I wonder what we should take for pain. And I said, well, I usually take a couple of aspirin, 1 ibuprofen, and sometimes even a Tylenol along with it. And his friend was a doctor, and he said, yep, that's what I recommend, the combination of the 3. So, okay. And that's kind of what I do. But today I think I only took ibuprofen, and it was great. It was fine. I'm not sore at all.
Another thing I've started doing, I've gotten tired of the electrolyte mixes because they're just sweet, and you've got Mary's gagging right now.
Yes, I'm
They're
gagging.
really sweet, and they're difficult to stay up on because you have to mix them in separate water bottles. I've now found that electrolyte capsules, which I found on Amazon, are great to take. You just swallow them with some water, and also the salt chews. They're like
I've
a
never
chewable.
tried those,
They're
yeah.
Salt Stick. Salt Stick is
Right,
the
right.
brand, and they're these little tablets that you just chew on, and they're lemon lime or berry flavored. They taste good. They're just easy to take. So I found that those are that's really a good way to stay up on
I'm
electrolytes.
going to try those. Today I brought with pickle juice, which, is a little container. And one of my friends who's a hiker said, try that. He's a cyclist too. So, but I just couldn't bring myself to drink it today.
Yeah.
So, but one of these days I'll give that a shot and see if that actually is.
It's so hard to say. I mean, you talk about drinking. When you're in the canyon, it's hard to stay on top of your hydration,
Very hard.
and it's very hard to stay on top of your nutrition. Don't you think?
It is because
You're just
you
never
don't feel-
hungry.
Yeah, the last mile and a half, I didn't have a thing. I knew I was in debt, food wise, but it's like I was nauseous and I just wanted to get the heck out of there. So I made it, but I should have probably had some kind of a gel at 1.5 miles. But yeah, I have to force myself to stay on top of nutrition,
Yeah.
hydration,
Almost have to
water.
remind yourself to eat.
It's like, come on.
Yeah.
And I'm preaching to everybody else. Make sure you eat.
Right. It's
300 calories an hour.
It's a work in progress, no matter what. I just
It
feel
is.
like it's different every time. I always feel like I come out of the canyon with way more food than I needed.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's like why did I pack all this stuff? What the heck
Well,
was I thinking?
But I always, especially on a Rim2Rim, I always overpack food because you never know when you're going to be in trouble and end up spending the night. So I usually also have a space blanket or an emergency sleeping bag, one of those little tiny roll-up little things. I pack differently for a Rim2Rim than I do for a Rim2River, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, today, you should have seen the look on Mary's face when we were at Havasupai Gardens. We did about 17 miles today. So at Havasupai Gardens, we were, 12 and a half miles in, and we were sitting down there by the water spigots, and I popped out a bag of potato chips, kettle chips, Pink's Himalayan sea
my
salt.
goodness.
Oh, her eyes lit
Can
up.
I
and
have some of those?
Oh, she wasn't shy.
Can I have some of those?
So those, it's really, when it comes to packing food, it's whatever you think you're going to feel like eating, right? As long as you get something.
Yeah, exactly. And I, for myself, I always have either a frozen orange juice, a frozen chocolate milk, or some kind of electrolyte frozen next to an ice cold Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke. And I've got this little homemade refrigerator jacket that I stick it in, and it stays cold for hours and hours, even in the heat. So that's kind of like I never leave without that ever.
Yeah.
That's one of my top 5 things.
I mentioned how you lit up when you saw the potato chips. I forgot to mention that 4.5 miles before at the tip-off when she took out that Diet Pepsi, and she said, "Hey, listen to this," and it made that sound when you opened it.
The whole canyon heard it.
Oh, they did. It just sounded so good, and she was like a little kid.
Yeah, yes. Drank it all the way across Tonto. Had the last of it right before Havasupai Garden, and it's all gone.
Yeah. So that's hydration and nutrition. It's a personal thing. Take to eat what you think you're going to want to eat in the canyon. Today, for me, that was a Snickers bar. That was some chips. That was an apple. And that's really about it. Oh, those Cliff Blocks.
I didn't
They're
see
these,
that
like-
Snickers bar.
Oh,
I
you
would
didn't.
have seen that.
You were too busy drinking your Diet Pepsi. That's why you didn't see that.
I had a payday in my pack.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I didn't eat it. It's
Oh,
still in my
okay.
pack.
Fair enough. Well, I'm going to have to dig in there. Okay, so that's nutrition and hydration. What other kind of things have you learned over these 181 hikes that are important to carry when you're in the
I
canyon?
bring enough clothing that if I break an ankle or something happens, and I end up in any level of the canyon, that I can hopefully survive the night. And that would include, like I'm wearing shorts right now. I had long pants with me. I also have arm warmers that can either serve as lower arm warmers all the way up to my armpits actually, or they are compression socks that go from my ankles right to the below the knee, and it also is smart wool, so it produces warmth plus compression. So I've got a pair of those with me at all times. And then I'll usually plan a pair of gloves, and if it's going to be cold, I'll have at least 4 top layers and then 2 hoodies of some kind. And like I said, the space blankets so that you can wrap yourself. I never go on a hike in the Grand Canyon without all of that stuff. So stuff
Even in the summertime?
Even in the summertime.
Really?
Yeah, even in the summertime, because one time I had food poisoning and it took me 8 hours to come out South Kaibab, and I was in danger of having to spend the night, and it was not cold, but I was really sick, and so I was shivering. I mean, it could have been a terrible situation, but I'm really glad that I had extra stuff just in case. I made it out 4 o'clock in the morning, but it was a terrible situation. So once those things happen to you, I don't overpack at all, but I do take things in case of emergency.
What about summer? What are the summer operations look like for you clothes-wise?
Oh, summer is cover.
Or warm weather.
Yeah, warm weather and direct sun. If I'm in direct sun, I will have a Smart Wool 125 hoodie that I'll be able to wet, or something cotton that I can wet and keep my core temperature down. And I try not to hike in the direct sun. A lot of it's just plain heat mitigation, because the heat in the Grand Canyon in the summer is absolutely deadly. And I try and talk people out of doing it all the time, in the middle of the day. Take an umbrella if you have one. That's one thing on my list that I need to try again, and I've tried that in the past and works very well, except it's not hands-free.
What about hiking wet?
Hiking wet is just the key. When we got to Indian Garden today, I actually did wet my shirt and put it on soaking wet, and I was really glad to have that for the first mile and a half because it was pretty warm, and it really helped keep me cool up all until the 3 Mile House. Yeah, it worked great. Then the breeze came up and it was great. Didn't need it. But hiking wet will make the difference between life and death sometimes.
And you like to cover up in the summertime.
I cover up in the daytime. At night, not so much. No, at night, no.
But what's it look like during the day for you? Because I'm always shorts, short sleeve shirts, but a lot of people like you cover up. Yeah, what do you wear?
Well, I don't usually hike in the middle of summer. If I do,
I mean, today was a warm day.
It was. So today I had long shorts on, and then I had a pair of really baggy, thin, white, stretchy pants to go over, and I did put those on both in the morning for the cold. They work great. And then I took them off at the tip-off, and then I put them back on at Havasupai Garden until 1.5 Mile House, because I wasn't sure if the sun would stay out, or how it was, but then I didn't need them after that. But they really do deflect the sun. And then I had my Smart Wool hoodie, plus I had another shirt over my shoulder. So, yeah, I felt pretty comfortable. But like Brian said, it wasn't cold. It wasn't hot today.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
In fact, you were a little, things looked a little rough for you when you wetted that hoodie down at Havasupai Gardens and put that on. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so cold.
I'm going to die. But then about 2 minutes later, it's fine. But, it's just the shock. But, yeah, because sometimes from Indian Garden or Havasupai Garden to the top is dead air. And oh my goodness, the heat can be so brutal. And even though it's not hot, it's an intense heat because we're only 6 weeks away from solstice. So for the next 3 months, it's going to be direct overhead heat from the sun.
Yeah.
Even if it's not that hot.
What about, say, things like lip balm? You don't ever pack that?
I never use lip balm and I never use sunscreen. If I was going to be exposed to the sun, I would use sunscreen, but I would rather cover up because sunscreen does not mitigate the heat, direct heat on your skin. It doesn't do anything for radiant heat. And a lot of people don't understand that does nothing to prevent you from overheating because you have sunscreen on. You won't die of sunburn, but you can, it'll still, your body will still heat up if you don't protect it from the direct sun.
Okay, Mary, 181 times down and across the Grand Canyon. What is the thing that drives you the craziest that you see other people do out there? What kind of mistakes do you see out on the trail?
Lack of clothing, lack of experience, lack of knowledge as to what they're getting into. There was a guy going down Bright Angel last week. He was very hefty, overweight. he had about a 12-year-old kid with him, and they were going lickety-split down the trail. And I said, hey, where are you guys going? We're going to the river. And it's almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I said, well, do you have headlamps, backup batteries? No, I don't need them. And I turned around and I yelled, don't do it. Don't do it. For the sake of this child, don't do it. He just laughed at me and went on.
He did it anyway, huh?
Yeah. And so it's a lack of knowledge and listening to people that have experience. It's the arrogance that just gets me every time. Like, well, that might be okay for you, but I'm different. I don't need to do that, this, that, and this.
Boy, it's gotten loud in here. We're sitting again in the Bright Angel Lodge in the lobby. It's like there's almost a field trip in here. Kids almost screaming. I don't know what we're supposed to expect. I mean, don't they know the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude show is here, Mary?
Yeah, they don't know. They just think we're looking at us talking on microphones. Like, what are you people doing?
Oh, I tell you. Yeah, you never know what you're going to see at the Grand Canyon. You definitely never know what you're going to see below the rim.
No, and another example that comes to mind is a couple of months ago, there was a lady going down Bright Angel as I was coming up, and she was with 2 children. They were on ahead. They were no more than 8 and 10 years old, and they were ahead of her. And as she approached me, I said, "Where are you folks going?" "I don't know. I'll just let the kids decide whenever they want to turn around." And I said, "Bad idea. These kids don't know what they're getting into. Going down is easy. Coming up is mandatory. It's hard work coming up." And she just kind of laughed and went on down the trail. And I often wonder what happens to those kind of people. How much they suffer coming up. Obviously, only 3 people died last year. So obviously most people make it. But I can imagine the suffering level must be pretty high in a lot of those folks. And, things happen. But I know last Memorial Day, I think our Park Service received about 400 distress calls on Memorial Day weekend. And I don't know how they handle it because they're so short-staffed. And if people would just realize that the rangers have to go out of their way to rescue you, and if you break an ankle, that's one thing. But if it's just for lack of preparedness, that is, to me, it's inexcusable.
Yeah,
it really is.
So Mary, next time we come back, again, you got away with it this time.
I did, but I'm gonna
in the direct sun. You got away with it, but from now
definitely
on,
gonna do
you're not gonna get away with it next time
anymore.
probably because it's gonna start getting hotter and hotter.
No,
this is the time of the year when I shift to starting in the afternoon and finishing in the evening and after dark, because I really think it's the only way to do it in the summertime. And you've done that too. We've never done it together, but it's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. If you go down in the afternoon, say April, May, and you get to the bottom and the sun's going down, there's a magic to the place as the water turns gray. And then you put your headlamp up, and sometimes I can make it to the tip-off before I need, light. But it's just amazing because in the lower canyon, you see scorpions, you see little tiny insects and centipedes that are so tiny they look like a black thread, and that must be their season when they're born because they're everywhere. And you never ever see anything like that unless you hike at night.
And more importantly than that, honestly, is that you're staying safe, because there's no other time to do it if you're going to hike the Grand Canyon in the summertime.
Not
in
for
my
me,
opinion.
there isn't.
Yeah, I mean, people still do it.
They do it.
And you have to respect that, because people, it's the time of the year when they can do it, right? And Rim2Rim season is so short. It's only from May 15th to October 15th, so you can make the argument that the entire Rim2Rim season is too hot. So people have to do it sometimes. But if you're going to come up and do, even a Rim2River, doing it the afternoon and then finishing after dark, because it's not as hot late afternoon, you don't have the direct sun overhead beating down on you, you're going downhill. Those 3 things make it tolerable, even though it can still be hot. And then by the time you get to the bottom and you're starting your way back up, it's getting dark, it's at least shaded, and then it gets dark. And so that's the safest time to ascend for the hardest part of the hike. That's why I prefer the afternoon into the evening, because if you do it the other way, like most people do, Mary, which is start 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and then finish 10, 11, noon, well, you've still got to deal with that late morning when the sun is rising and it is beating down on you and it is direct sun.
Yeah, and there's something about when the temperature is on the descent,
Yeah.
a particular temperature is just easier to
more
tolerate
pleasant.
than it was when it's on the ascent.
I agree
And
completely.
it's just,
Yes.
and when it's warm in April or May, a lot of the time I'll leave the rim, and I will be soaking wet on my in my shirt, soaking wet. When I start down South Kaibab or Bright Angel or whatever I'm doing for that afternoon. And when I get to the bottom, then I'll be soaking wet again. And by the time I get to the tip-off, then it's cooler, and then, you come out at night and it's just glorious. But yeah, I don't know, 90 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon is just easier to take than 90 at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Well, especially if you're going downhill, as opposed to 90 at 8 o'clock in the morning, like you're saying, if you're going up and you're exerting yourself, then the heat is just...
But even when I used to run, I noticed that I could handle heat better in the afternoon on the sun descent. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's something to do with our biorhythms, but...
I think you're right. But yeah, 10 out of 10 recommend that. That's magic. And by the way, the trails are dead.
Oh, they are.
In the evenings and nighttime. There's nobody on them.
And
Sometimes you don't see anybody.
Sometimes I have a headlamp and a waist lamp. And it just gives great vision, at least going downhill. Going uphill, sometimes just the headlamp, but you're looking down at your feet constantly, and you have to remind yourself, stop, look up, and then you see, the stars, they moved. It's like, they were over there, and there's the moon.
But I typically do that, and I look up and I twist an ankle immediately.
No, I stop. I come
okay,
to
that's
a
what you got to do.
dead stop.
That makes sense.
I come to a dead stop, and then I look up. And then I'm always amazed at how the evening has progressed. And then as you're coming out, and you can look back in the summer, and you can see the North Rim Lodge lights many times.
Yeah.
And you can see people on the South Rim, and you can see headlights from the the overlooks and stuff.
It's such a great point you just made about taking the time to stop and look around when you're in the canyon, because people like me sometimes are only interested in going fast and trying to break their own personal time goals that mean nothing to anyone else but mean the world to you, right? And today you helped me slow down a little bit, which was fantastic because it was a different perspective for me, being able to just kind of chill out and look around and enjoy the incredible scenery in the place where you're at, and enjoy your company. Well, but again, that was fantastic.
I was
it was a
giving
different
it all
experience.
I had, but I'm glad.
It was a different experience, and it reminded me that you do have to stop sometimes and be like, this is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. There's no landscape like this anywhere on Earth.
Not on Earth.
Take the time, stop, and look around, and just appreciate where you are.
And we talk to people all the time that they're from New Jersey, like that couple today.
Yeah.
They're from all over the world, and they only get to come once. And here we are.
Isn't that neat to be able to...
Over and
I just
over.
you just want people to have such an incredible experience,
You do.
because like those folks from New Jersey, like you said, they've never been here before. They might never be back again. And, we're here so often that we might take it for granted a little bit. And you just hope people like that, man, just have
And they had the best
experience.
attitude. And
They did.
Yeah, and they were going to do Tonto just like us.
Yeah.
And we never saw them again, so I don't know what happened to them. But I
Yeah.
thought I heard voices. I think they did. They were out there somewhere. So I hope they enjoyed their day.
Yeah. This was a fun day, Mary.
It was. It was a fun day.
We finally made it happen.
Now, yeah, I saw you right before the bridge. It's like, there he is. There's the man on the podcast. Oh my gosh.
Just a dude looking to hike the canyon with my good friend Mary,
my
who's 73
goodness.
years old and doing her 181st time across. I couldn't have any more respect for you, Mary. And as we bear down on number 200, I hope to be here when you do the 200th, because that'll be a day to celebrate.
Well, and I want to do some summer hiking with you.
We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We'll definitely do that.
I
And
can-
you'll make me stop and look up at the stars and not twist my ankle, and it'll be wonderful. And we'll talk about how great it is that no one's on the trails, and and
Yeah,
look at all
most
the
of my
scorpions.
afternoon
and-
night hikes have been solo. It would be great to share it with you.
Yeah.
Oh, my
well, we'll do
goodness.
it. We'll do it. You can count on it. But it was a great day with you, and
was.
I'm so grateful for you. And thank you for taking the time to sit here in Bright Angel Lodge with me and kind of talk a little rim to rim and talk a little Grand Canyon. There's nothing better than talking canyon, is there?
No, there really isn't. And the other thing is, talking about rim to rim, a lot of people use their hike and sticks all the time. I don't use mine all the time, but I always have them with me. because you never know. You never know. So I pack them on my pack, and they don't take up any space, but I really think it's important to at least have them, even if you don't use them.
This is a place where, and I'm glad you brought this up before we sign off here. I'm glad you brought this up because you and I will never see eye to eye on this. I do not understand how you can have your poles tied to your pack and not using them, because I use them the entire time. By the way, today, I always talk about the Walmart and Costco poles and about how great they are. And I was coming down just below Cedar Ridge trying to catch up with you this morning, and I snapped one of them. Snapped it right in half. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because not only am I just starting the hike, I'm a mile and a half down, but now I got to carry the darn thing the rest of the way, the broken one. I got to stuff it in my pack, and it's just so annoying. And then I had to learn how to hike with one pole.
Yeah.
And you know what? I still loved it.
One pole sometimes works for me too.
Yeah, there was something about it. It's the balance. You're still able to lift yourself up and help yourself down. So I don't know how you do it without poles.
Well,
I don't
I've
get
learned,
it.
in the nighttime, I have to use them descending now, just for vision's sake. But the minute the sun starts to show through, or it just starts to lighten up, then I put them away. Unless it's icy, then I use them. But I find that they interfere with my natural arm swing a lot, and they take a ton more energy.
Huh.
And so I'm way more tired, and I think the stats are 20 to 25% more energy.
Different strokes, different folks. That's all I can say, because I will never be in the canyon without them.
No, I won't either, but I just don't use them all the time.
You talk about strapping them to your pack. I'm like, why would you ever strap them to your pack? I'm going to use these things at all times, no matter what. I think they help that much. Mary, thanks for doing this.
Thank you for coming today, Brian.
This
was a golden day for me and my life.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. This was
we'll do it again.
For me too. This was so much fun. The legend, Mary Banik, 181 times down across the Grand Canyon. What an inspiration she really is to all of us. Mary, thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian.
That is Mary Banik, the marvelous Miss Mary, so driven and such an inspiration. I just can't wait to hike with her again. All right, a new segment that we're debuting this week. It comes from our friend Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr., who you've heard on the show several times now. Arnie reached out and asked if he could provide a training tip from time to time. And of course, the answer was always going to be yes. Coach Arnie always provides so much valuable insight into how to prepare for your canyon adventure. And his first tip might make you look at your big toe just a little bit differently.
Hey guys, this is Coach Arnie with his Grand Canyon training tip of the week. And I want to thank Brian for allowing me to share some of my experience and wisdom with you guys. I really do appreciate that. So here's the tip. Let's get right to it. It's about activating the big toe, which activates the glutes. Those are the muscles that we sit on. And it also saves our hamstrings. So here we go. Here's the tip. Glutes are for walking. Hamstrings are for running and slowing you down, stopping, and changing your directions. This protects the knees. Because if we overwork the hamstrings, your knees are exposed to being injured. Let me explain how this works when you're at the canyon. Let's say you're going downhill. What I want you to do is to slowly start to engage using your big toe. And when you slowly start to push down on your big toe, it activates the glutes, which keeps your pelvis stable. The more your pelvis is stable, it will allow your hamstrings to do what they're supposed to do. So now you come downhill, you get to Phantom Ranch, you start going across the box, and now you have those glute muscles ready to go going across the box. Because if you overwork the hamstrings when you're walking through the box, you're going to again expose your knees to injuries. You don't want to do that. You want to save those hamstrings, remember, for going downhill. Use your glutes for walking. Save those hamstrings for what they need, for what you're going to need them for coming downhill. So let's get that toe engaged. Start doing it now in your training. Start pushing down gently on that toe, and it'll keep your posture better. You'll feel better. You'll have a better and a more enjoyable adventure. I love you guys. and I hope this helps. And if any of you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, 602-390-9144. Love you.
That's Coach Arnie. His contact information is in the show notes. I know that many of you have reached out to him, and let me promise you, he loves it. You can always follow Coach Arnie on social media as well. He's most active on Instagram and on Facebook. All right, please remember to check out brightangeloutfitters.com for tons of free resources, also aimed at helping you have your best canyon experience, including our Grand Canyon Shade Tracker, a must in the warmer months, to information-packed videos, and our free ebook, A Beginner's Guide to Rim2Rim. You can find it all at brightangeloutfitters.com. While you're there, please have a look at the Rim2Rim pack and our collection of apparel, including the popular Victor Vomit t-shirt and an entire Rim2Rim collection. Again, that is at brightangeloutfitters.com. All right, that's it for this week. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step, embrace the journey, and when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike. Look around and enjoy all that is the magnificence of the one-of-a-kind Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.